So, what is your question?
I'm discovering the gifts that I have, and I'm lacking the clarity of really how to apply them. I'm a software developer by trade, but I'm not really fulfilled in that arena. I love to create things, and I feel that I'm here for some bigger purpose. I love helping people, and I'm just really struggling with where and how to do that, and really finding ways to uncover that within me. So I don't know if that's lacking confidence in some of the signs that I'm getting, or what. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on how to attack that.
Well, the way that I've attempted to attack it is by starting with, what do I stand for? So I've asked myself four questions in this question of how do I best unleash the gifts that exist inside me? So the first question is, what do you stand for? Right? Setting some guardrails around your personal values so that anything you decide to go do honors the things that you stand for most. So one of my personal values is work to live, don't live to work. Right? So knowing that that's one of my personal values, anything I'm entertaining in what I go do next couldn't require lengthy travel, couldn't come at the expense of my ability to coach a baseball team that I'm super on fire for, right? I need to create centeredness. And by knowing what I stand for, I have some guardrails around what I can say yes to, and maybe more importantly, what I can not say yes to. The second question that I ask is, who do you want to be? Right? Who do I want to be? Because the question of my why was formed out of trying to find the converging, overlapping circles between what I have personal passion for, what I have great competency for, what might afford me to bring light into the world, have impact, and where I can make money. Right? So as I think about the convergence of these four things, what do I love? What am I great at? What could afford people some kind of impact, and how can I make some money to support my family? That why ends up asking this question of, well, then, okay, against those gates, who do you want to be? And so in some ways, it ends up being somewhat of a personal brand, something of like the reputation that I'd like to be known for or as, so that as I try to narrow in on, right, I know what I want to be. I also know what I don't want to be. It again is a second set now of guardrails that says you can do these things, but can't do that. For me, there's four big pillars of the work that I want to try and do inside of this crazy space that I'm operating in. And that is, I'm a parent, I'm into personal development, I've had experience in business and leadership, and I'm really into fitness and health right now. And so as I think about the things I will say yes to, I just turned in a kid's book around this idea that I had with me trying to teach personal development ideas to my 3-year-old daughter, right? The idea of planting seeds in young humans that might make a resource that I create for adults in nonfiction or a platform like this an unnecessary thing because they already believe that they can be anything, that lights my heart on fire. So now I know, okay, anything I say yes to has to align with my values. What do you stand for? And then secondarily, who do you want to be? The third thing then, really dives into this question that I think you're starting with, which is, how can you use your gifts?
Yeah.
And so for me, since I've already eliminated so many different fields that I could consider, or so many different environments that might violate what I stand for, it's now narrowed the field on things I can actually think about. So now, okay, what are the industries or business sectors that actually tap into my personal passions? What are the things that might lead me to getting one step closer to who I'd hope to be because of what I know that experience would afford me in the evolution of who I'm trying to become. And so for me, in some ways, it started with casting this vision of who I'd hope to be 5 or 10 years from now, and backing into it by asking, well, how could I use my gifts today that would get me one step closer to actualizing this vision of who I'd hope to be? And the last question that I have to ask is, well, then what's the immediate plan, right? This is where you end up setting some very, very specific goals, right? If you want to be a writer and you've identified that is the calling of your life, you have personal passion, you're good at it, it would afford light to people, and you can actually make some money from it, then identifying where you are on the journey to become a writer is the thing you'd have to do. All right, do you need to actually write the dang book? Do you need to find a class that would teach you how to write the dang book? Do you need to sit with other people who've written books to understand the process of creating a framework around how to write a book? Do you need an agent? Do you need to have a relationship with a publisher? Whatever it might be. But as I've been able to then dig into, okay, what's the most immediate next best thing that I can do in creating an opportunity that uses my gifts, that's aligned with who I want to be, and is connected to what I stand for. Now I can make a list of those short-term things that would create small wins that get me one step closer. And this is a very iterative process. So, what makes sense for you today may not make any sense 3 to 5 months from now. That's why you got to keep doing it over and over. But at least you'll have a sense on what's the next right thing to do. What's the next best thing to do? And the thing that was always overwhelming for me, I try to figure all of it out. Like, how do I figure out the next 10 years? No. You need to figure out the next 3 months, then figure out the 3 months after that, and just keep making the next best decision that gets you a step closer to where you want to go. Understanding that, by the way, you may start pulling on a thread that 3 months in reveals this is not connected to my passion. I don't actually have enough curiosity about this to follow it all the way to the end, right? Like, curiosity as a starter is such an important thing, because like just playing in a whole bunch of spaces where you have curiosity, it's going to show you which thing might actually lead to passion, which can unlock purpose, which can unlock fulfillment and meaning, right? But if you start with what are you actually curious about, that'll get you down the road of how can you use your gifts further and faster than almost any other exercise.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, because that's exactly right. Because I'm in that space of I want to figure out all of it right now, and I want it to be exactly right, and then I'm not doing anything, and I'm absorbing all of this, personal development kind of stuff and growing, but I'm not acting, and I'm trying to figure it all out now.
Yeah. I will say one of the things that's been helpful too is just stating the vision of who you'd hope to be in statements that use present tense as though they've already happened, right? You don't know how they're going to happen, but by doing a present tense statement of what will happen, unconsciously your brain starts making connectors in the world to figure out how to reconcile the truth that you've stated with what would also have to be true in the world. And so in some ways, it just takes a little bit of faith that the higher power, the universe, energy, connections, people are going to present themselves. But when you believe that it's going to happen, you'll see it. You'll see the people. Oh, geez, I didn't even know this was the person I needed to meet to make the connection that would get me one step closer to this thing I'd like to do or a person I'd like to be.
Right. Awesome. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.